This thing that I have found is what I would call my gracious space. Hi folks, Jack here with Gracious Spaces, and we want to invite you into a world that is iconic. We are sitting in a VW van of all places, and what more iconic than that for the 60s and 70s? You know, we're in a very special place, and we're here talking to Diane and Bill Staggs. And tell us about this environment we're in right now.
Oh, well, this is this particular car is one that all our cars have names, and this one is a 1979 Volkswagen bus Westfalia camper kit, and we named this one Malibu.
Malibu. Now, who gets to do the naming? And how did you get Malibu?
I can't remember how we ended up.
A friend of ours wanted to name it Malibu.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you roll with that then.
We were able to get a license plate that says Calif VW.
Okay.
I wanted to name it Clementine because of
the colors.
Yeah.
and I thought that Malibu would be better suited to a blue bus.
Well, probably.
But it ended up Malibu. So
You know,
yeah.
You did it.
It got dibs on Malibu.
So this is a community that is really a special community, and I mean the people that drive these vehicles, and they excursions, and they have a love and a passion for it. And you guys own VW Safari, and 20 years in business.
Yeah. In March actually of this year.
Congratulations.
We
20 years.
Yeah.
March 5th, 2005.
We started vintage Safari wagons based on a dream. Literally.
Literally?
Yeah, literal dream.
Tell me about that.
Well, when Diane and I first met, we dated, and we decided that I've always been a proponent of the idea, if you want to know somebody well, go travel.
Travel with them.
Yeah. And then and so we decided to travel to Hawaii. I had some friends that lived on Oahu on the North Shore, and she had some friends that lived on Maui and upcountry by Haleakala. So we contacted them and asked them, hey, can we come, hang out with you guys? And about a month so we made our plans, and about a month before we left, I had this super vivid dream. Most of my dreams are kind of disjointed and kind of crazy, and you can't really follow the storyline. But this dream was like vivid, clear storyline. I was driving my camper bus in Oahu around and stopping at all the beaches and surfing and sitting out in the sun and stuff. And I woke up and I went, wow. I thought, well, I can't ship my van over to Hawaii, but maybe somebody will rent us one, right? So I told her about it. And she got online and started looking around to find a place. And we didn't find anything on Oahu, but we did find one on Maui. So she arranged that. And so we thought, great, this is going to be fun. And then we thought, well, I wonder why nobody's renting them on Oahu. This seems like the perfect, every car agency has, a Dodge this and a Toyota that and a
convertible
Jeep,
Mustang.
A convertible Mustang.
Nobody
Jeep. Has a Volkswagen bus, but it seems like the perfect surfer car,
Yeah.
It is a surfer car. And so it got us thinking. She said, well, maybe there's a business idea here. So when we went to Hawaii, we started thinking about, we had this business thought that we thought, well, let's investigate and see if there is a business opportunity in Hawaii. It turned out there wasn't, but we continued with the thought, and we thought, well, maybe we can do it in California. So when we came back from our trip, and we had a great time. We had numerous really mystical, sort of magical experiences around the idea and around the bus that we rented.
Like you said, dreams.
Yeah. And so it really encouraged us. So when we came back, she built a website. We started fixing up my van, the camper van I had, and we started shopping for another van. So we ended up planning a website. I bought another van, and we started. That's where we started, and it really took off pretty quickly, didn't it? About 2-3 years.
Yeah, year
3, we had a pretty good, solid repeat renting the buses on a regular basis.
So needless to say, your traveling date to see if y'all got along went well, very well.
Well,
Yeah,
the jury can sometimes still be out on that.
Well, what I love about that is you didn't look at him and go, "You're crazy." This is vice versa.
It was a long time ago, and we both have different versions.
Of course.
So,
Well, give us your quick version now. I'm curious.
Man, I don't know if there's a quick version.
I skipped over a lot of stuff just for brevity.
So we thought that we were going to start a business in Hawaii, or we would start it here, and in 5 years, we had a 5-year plan.
Hawaii,
we're going to move it to Hawaii. And so that's why a lot of the buses have Hawaiian names. Kalipua. And
wanted a surfy vibe and, beachy vibe and stuff. So, yeah.
So we did that because we thought that we were going to move it over there.
Yeah.
In fact, our first two buses were named after surfers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then the deal was to rent them just on a daily, weekly basis. And then you jumped into excursions, right? Planning, organizing.
We did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rental business was great, but we noticed that during the winter time, things sort of died off a little, tapered off. And we thought, well, how can we?
Did you honeymoon in Vegas?
Did
you in Hawaii?
We actually did, yeah.
Yeah.
We did honeymoon in Maui. But we went to both islands, didn't we, on our honeymoon?
We did, yeah, because the friends that lived up near Haleakala, they had a place there, and so we stayed with them, and
House of Ginger and Koi.
And then we stayed in a place called the House of Ginger and Koi on the North Shore of Oahu.
Is that still there, I wonder?
The place is still there, but I don't know if they
it's owned by
rent it
somebody
out
else.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really pretty place. Yeah. And we just recently went back for our 20th wedding anniversary in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And spent 10 days or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years business, 20 years anniversary.
Married. Yeah, we started this right before we were married.
Yeah.
So we were in. Oh, did you need something, Jim? Oh no. Okay.
How you doing, Jim?
I want to go back to the trip that we took to Hawaii in from the get-go.
Okay.
Because something happened that was very unique.
Dream trip.
The dream trip. So we were staying with friends in Haleiwa town on the North Shore of Oahu. And it was the day before we were leaving to go over to Maui. And I wanted to go back into a dress shop that I'd seen because there were these little handbags that were handmade, and I wanted to take pictures of them. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a long story. He can edit it out. So, anyways, there's a lady in the changing room. There's nobody else in the store. Huge store. Bill's chatting with the women at the front counter. Turns out they all know our friends. It's a small town.
Yeah.
So the lady comes out of the change room and she said, I was
telling the people about this idea,
Oh yeah, about the idea.
I was kind of just telling, the reason we're here, we're just exploring this idea and blah blah blah. And
yeah.
This other lady was in the changing room.
She could hear the whole thing.
Eavesdropping.
So she comes out and she goes, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard I was listening to explaining your idea, and I just think it's a fabulous idea. And she had been an executive back in Chicago or something like that, and she'd sold everything. She moved to the North Shore. She bought a cottage. She had a VW Bug, and she was living her dream. So anyhow, that's North Shore.
She was living her dream.
Her dream.
But she thought, wow, what a great idea, fix up VW camper vans and rent them out. And
I hope she doesn't take our idea.
Not really. So we left Oahu, we went over to Maui, and you got to keep this in mind. We were staying with friends in upcountry in Makawao, which is a rural area, and
they were outside of the actual little Makawao's tiny little town. It's like 1,500 people, and they were living in a little
Ohana,
a place off of the beaten track, in a little tract in a secondary house off of the main house that was a quarter mile off the road.
It was a long driveway.
Yeah,
dipped down and went back up the other side.
Kind of in a, not hidden, but it was not on the main drag. That's for sure.
Okay, so we rented the bus when we were on Maui.
We drove
And
around. We had
drove
a
around,
great
we had
time.
a great time. It was great because we could take, we could go snorkeling, we could get changed and go out for dinner. So we had everything with us, and it was, anyways.
And everywhere we went, the locals treated us like locals.
Wow.
Yeah, because we weren't driving a rental car.
Respect.
So we had, that sort of, it was
A vibe.
a bit of an incognito experience where because they'd ask us, what size you live on? What, I've seen this bus before, but I don't,
Anyhow, last day we're there, okay? Last day.
Yeah.
And I'm at the back of the van, and I'm loading it up with our luggage.
Cleaning it up, getting ready to
And
turn it
this
back.
lady's walking down this long driveway, and she's yelling at me. And I'm thinking, who is this person? Well, it turns out it was the lady in the store on the North Shore, from the North Shore in Haleiwa Town.
Yeah.
The one that was in the change room. Turns out her friend lived right next door to our friends.
No, what a small
And
world.
she saw the van, and she saw me, and she said she thought we bought a bus.
She's yelling,
And she was like, "You got your first bus! You got your first
She was
bus!"
so excited.
I still get, honestly, I still get
We thought she was
goosebumps
crazy.
talking about it.
She was this crazy person coming
Yeah.
over here.
Because I was like, "What are the chances of that happening?"
Yes.
Right? So
Very slim.
we took it as a sign, just a fingerprint. Shh, we got to do
And
this.
look how she didn't know you guys. And look how excited she was
Yeah.
for you to take this dream. By the way, side note, Leo, Dream Trip should be the episode title. I think, but go for what you dream for, right? And
Yeah. So, like on the way back on the plane, we came up with the name Vintage Safari Wagons. I still have like little sketches of things that I did on the plane.
Wow, that's so cool.
And we came up with the URL name VW Safari, which a lot of people think that's our name, but it's actually Vintage Safari Wagons. And so when we got back and he had that bus and started fixing it up, and then
What I love is you noticed all the little signs along the way too that said, "Hey, this validates what we want to do." This is
Well, that's right. And the more we talked with people about this, we would notice that there was a real diverse, extreme reaction.
yeah.
One group would say, "Oh wow, that's such a great idea! I remember camping in those. That was so much
Yeah.
fun." And the other people would say, "You got to be kidding! That's the stupidest idea I ever heard."
Oh, they wouldn't say it. They'd look at you like you were growing a third eyeball out of your forehead, right? Like,
between dreamers and non-dreamers,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And this whole vibe goes along with dreamers, not to be corny, but the groovy kind of surfer vibe.
Yeah, it's never ceased to sort of amaze me the depths at which this particular brand, this vehicle, the shape of this car is recognizable throughout all layers of
The world.
ages and groups and stuff. And
Peace, happy.
yeah, I mean, if you're a deadhead, it represents something. If you were just a kid growing up in Southern California or anywhere, where these buses were being used by families, people went places in them. There's a in the Smithsonian. There's a bus in the Smithsonian that was driven by a family in the South, and they used it to take people back and forth to civil rights things.
Yeah, protest.
The car absolutely wore out, rusted to almost nothing. Somebody found it, and because this family had become, famous for their effort to get people into these civil rights movements, they saved it, and it's enshrined. Yeah, and we used to get, even before I met Diane, I noticed this thing where I'd go to the gas station and get gas. I'd be pumping my gas, and invariably somebody would walk up and say, "Hey, what year is that? A '74?" And I used to have one, and but mine was blue, and I'd ask them, "Well, what happened to it?" "Oh, we had to sell it because we couldn't get it smogged, or something was,
Everybody's got
we
their
grew
bus
out of
story.
it or whatever."
Or their
And
VW
they
story.
said, but they'd always end up saying, "I wish I still had it." You know,
You say that, huh? Yeah. Well, and that's sort of, we'll talk a little bit about that because they were all across America, but you like Michigan, colder climates, New York, they didn't survive because of the rust and
the rust and yeah, and you know, they're really not suited for that kind of cold weather.
yeah.
A funny statistic about Volkswagen sales is that 50% of all Volkswagen sales in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was in California, Oregon, and Washington.
Climate.
50% of all the cars that came into the United States came to those three states. The rest of the states got the rest. And so they were super popular here. And you can't look at if you go back to films of the freeways in the 60s,
Yeah.
Volkswagen after Volkswagen.
Well, I reflect back to station wagons for us. back
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know growing up in the South, when I would see a VW on a commercial or, you know, it was iconic to me.
Yeah.
California, dreaming, the whole song and everything. You know, next to palm trees, this is it. The beaches, this is what you think of. I know, yeah. So then
Still a lot around here, you know, in
protected, right?
in California. Yeah, you see them all the time, so it's no big deal. But
Now, do you have folks come to you and say, hey, I know this is what you do and I've got a VW. Can we talk about, do you want it? How do you acquire them?
People do call and ask about, you know, are we buying Volkswagen? Do you want to buy mine? Or they call and ask, do you know where one is for sale? That kind of thing. We
Probably get that a lot.
a lot, yeah. In fact, I think we probably have sold more Volkswagens for people than just about anybody else in the last 10 years because every time somebody rents one, they go, oh, that's so much fun. I want to buy one, you know. And we can find them, but they're still out there. They're just a little harder to find good ones anymore.
Well, I know on my way in just now this morning, one turned over. I looked to see if it was you, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Shouldn't he be somewhere? And it wasn't. Obviously, you were here. But yeah, it's kind of fun. It does evoke a certain nostalgia or memory when you see them on the road.
you know what's really bizarre? It is just little kids, you know, that have, yeah, they could be walking in front of the van and across a crosswalk or at the beach or whatever, and for some reason they're drawn to these cars. They smile, they point.
Pull on their mom's
like,
arm and
how-
say, you know, look, Mom.
How do they know? You know, I mean, what is it about the Volkswagen bus?
Well, you guys know my friends Dave and Anthony,
Right? Yeah.
You got them hooked. They're doing their own right now. They have a great one.
Yeah, their rig
have
is
a nice
sweet.
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a great guys. They speak very highly of you guys. But
Yeah, we did some upgrades to the interior of their van.
yeah.
Yeah, we got a nice van. Sunny, I think they
Sunny.
call it.
Yeah.
That
Yellow.
was a good.
Yeah.
And they went on one of our tours too with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
We started doing those tours after we realized that we had a off season, and so I think you were going to ask me about that, right?
yeah.
Oops.
Hey, that's fine with me. I love hearing this.
Yeah, that's how we've gotten a lot of people from that hooked on the Volkswagens and buying their own, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how many people have bought them after traveling in them, like renting them from us. There are so many people out there that have vans.
And that's really to me, that's really the thing about them. It's not just owning it and driving it around town. If you go out and spend 4 or 5 days in your camper in different beautiful in California, you can't beat it. You know, you can always find something great.
Oh, there's so many opportunities to stay as well as our beaches and
Yeah,
small towns,
and lakes
wine
and
country.
yeah, we love going up there. And
Yeah.
so, in fact, one of our tours is a Central Coast wine tour, and so we find places to camp and go on wine tastings. It's
Yeah. With this,
wonderful, although we always get a driver for.
oh, well, of course, we definitely want to be safety first.
Yeah. Well, when you have a collection of these old buses and you're all driving together in a convoy, it's a big head turner. There's a lot of questions. And pull into the gas station at the same time and
Horns blowing.
people, well, who are you guys? What are you doing? And
Well,
Can we take a picture of your van?
Yeah.
what's the most vans in a convoy have you had?
Well, I don't know what the total amount of vans was, but I do know that the head count on one of them was 25,
That's cool.
which is a lot because I love to cook. And then so I'll menu plan and then shop and prep and then execute out on the road. And 25 that's a lot of
people to feed. Yeah.
You need one van just to haul the groceries.
We do. Actually do have a support vehicle, yeah, that just we load all of our stuff up. And we set up a camp kitchen on the road that's outside of the van. And then,
Well, and that brings people together too. You have this commonality, not only the van, but when you stop, these special moments.
Yeah, and we'll do like a potluck one night, and then everybody can contribute and cook what they want to cook, and that's fun.
We'll have game night.
Oh, wow.
And, every night sitting around a campfire. And with the menus, we'd have wine pairings or specialty drinks to go with it. It was everything we could think of to make it fun.
Theme it out.
We've stayed on a lavender farm, and we've stayed on a vineyard, so we try to make it like a unique experience. And
stayed on the beach at Carpinteria.
Yeah. And then I'll always book a place somewhere in between, like a nice inn somewhere where we can all sleep in a regular bed and
shower
and then we've had farm to table dinners and wine pairings and things like that. So they're really special trips. And then I think the biggest takeaway for everybody is the people that they meet, and they get connected, and then they stay connected. We see all of them communicating on social media afterwards. That's really special.
Yeah, it is. People from this trip, there's always 3 or 4 of them that really connect and make new friendships and stuff.
Well, and repeat trips.
And repeats too. A lot of them have been on repeat trips.
What a special thing you've built. You should be very proud of yourself.
Well, we do take a lot of heart to that. That was really more of our calling rather than being. We are entrepreneurs, but we didn't feel like that. It was just, hey, let's rent van. Let's keep renting vans. Let's rent van. It was more like, hey, people have experiences in these cars that are, sort of. It's unexplainable how things happen.
Some people have written stories. And
I was thinking of the lady that wrote a story about her. She and her 2 kids. Her son was getting to the point of just entering into teenage years, and she said how he was starting to feel more distant and didn't really wasn't interested in doing family stuff with them as much. She could see that phase was starting to happen.
Oh yeah, it's there.
She said she convinced her husband to take a trip. And he said, well, I'll take the trip. I said, but I'm going to plan it. And she said, well, okay. And you know what he did to plan it? Nothing. He said, we're going to just see what happens. Wow. And so that's the way they tripped for about a week. But she wrote us.
So not even an excursion through you. We're just going to get in there.
They rented the van. They went somewhere. They just kept going different places. They picked out really great places. I mean,
what was that?
When I looked at their itinerary, I thought, no, this is great. You couldn't have done any better. But here's the thing that really got to me, that really tore my heart, or at least swelled my heart, was that she told the story. She later on wrote about her trip.
She wrote a blog post.
And she said that the oddest thing happened in the midst of this trip. They were driving somewhere, and just nothing special was happening. But she said they were driving along, and her boy was sitting in a seat right behind her. And she said he reached around.
Oh, man.
And grabbed her hand.
Oh, man, you're going to make me all tear up on this.
I know. We both ended up reading about it.
I still do. Because it was something, that family experience together bonded them in a way that she was afraid was ending in her life. And so she has this now to carry with her.
Yeah.
The rest of her life. No matter what her son does, gets married, has kids, grows old, she's got that.
Yeah.
We all.
And I
we
think
don't get credit for it, but we feel like that the magic of the bus is something that helped lead to that.
She also said in her blog post that she realized that you really don't need very much in life.
Yeah.
That just the simplicity of this trip and the food that they prepare and things like that. It was just really super simple, and it was like so memorable for her.
So they went back.
She was also a photographer, and she took some amazing shots on that trip.
So I don't remember exactly what happened, but they went back to, I think they lived near Detroit, something.
I'm not sure where they lived.
And they became beekeepers.
And bus owners, by the way.
Oh, did they? Oh, outstanding. And this kid, that moment for him was so powerful, for him to reach deep into him and offer that moment. Wow. So then people from all over, you're not talking just about Southern Californians coming.
Oh, no.
You get people from other countries probably.
Yeah. People that are attracted to these vans, this type of travel. It's slow. It's a little noisy.
What's the top speed?
Well, when people ever ask me before they rent, what's the top speed? I kind of go, you going to try to reach top speed? No. Just keep it around 60, okay? That's
okay, that's not bad, though.
Yeah. So
40, that's 60.
I don't know.
Stay in this slow lane, and try to keep it around 60.
Is there a little orientation that comes with?
Oh, absolutely.
You got to, huh?
I do a pretty extensive orientation. It's on our website, and we had thankfully somebody came and filmed the whole thing.
For just one model type, though, and all the buses are different, so they're slightly different. So we do an orientation no matter who.
Everybody gets one, unless they're a returning customer.
Yeah, or unless they're a bus owner too,
Well, and they're not complicated. They're just
They're personalities, right? You've named them each their own name, for God's sakes, so they have their own little quirks and nuances.
They do, yeah.
They actually all do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do you have a favorite you like to kind of every now and then say, hey, let's take Malibu out?
I do. Diane doesn't. She prefers not to drive in them anymore, but
yeah,
they're a little bit rustic. They're noisy, and you're sitting way up in the front, and it for a lot of people it doesn't feel very safe. Because there's no car, nothing out, there's nothing out.
Yeah, I could see how that.
I've been driving them since 1972, so
bike.
For me, it's just so natural. Doesn't bother me at all.
I love the height. You can see all around you, and
they're really. I think they're really easy to drive. They're super easy to park, and if it was just like, if we didn't have this business, and I would like to have one that we could just have as our beach car, and we go to the beach in it, and that would be fine. And I do have a favorite. It's Nalu Imi. Nalu Imi.
Wave Seeker.
And it's a what we call a tin top.
It doesn't have the pop up, but it does have a bed and a sink.
It's got a sink, and
it's real basic.
Yep, but it's kind of I don't know why. I just always like that one.
Gravitate toward her.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on these new UV VWs?
Well, I honestly think, specifically about the ID Buzz, I kind of think it's going to not satisfy the urge that people have to have something like this that's more modern, only because of the cost of it's pretty high. And it's not going to be, this car is super flexible. This one's set up as a camper, so it doesn't have as much, because it's got permanent structures inside, it doesn't have as much open space as a passenger van, which you can take the seats out and have a gigantic space. Yeah.
Lacks personality.
Volkswagen missed an opportunity earlier on, the last decade, when they had a chance to certify their T6, ironically named California,
Okay.
In Europe, you can buy one that's called a California, and they have different ones that are named Ocean or Pacific or Atlantic.
But not available here?
Not available. You can buy one in Europe. You can't buy one in California. But it is called the VW Westfalia California.
It's like the Eurovan here, but they named it the Californian.
Front engine, front wheel drive, but it has the nicest interior, the nicest amenities, and tons of built-ins and stuff. We rented one when we went to France and drove it for 10 days.
I don't know how long it was, but you could tell that VW had worked out a lot of the kinks, and they'd been very thoughtful about the way. I guess, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. They worked out a lot of the
They
kinks.
could have, if they'd have certified it for sale in the United States, I think they would have sold thousands of them.
Really well thought out.
Everybody that's ever driven one said, I'd buy this. I don't care what it costs. I'd buy this. And now people are buying $200,000 Sprinter vans.
Ooh, yeah. There is that.
Would have
Yeah.
bought them.
Yeah.
They would have bought them. But getting back to your question about the new electric van, I think they're pretty cool.
Hi, buddy. Come on.
What's his name? Gunner.
Come on. Come on up.
You want to come up?
Come on.
Oh,
Oh, it's all right.
Well, one of my questions. Oh, poor guy.
Okay, go lay down.
One of the things I was going to ask is, what's your dream? It's funny because I wrote down dream trip right here earlier this morning and making my notes, but you just mentioned France. It sounds like you're doing your dream trips. You're continuing because that was what would be your dream trip?
Some of the trips that we've taken are because of this business. We have some friends in Melbourne, Australia, that have a business like this, and
we did a swap with them.
We did a swap with them
here, and we went and traveled
So they
there.
came here and they took one of our buses for about 2 weeks, and then we did the same there. We actually picked up a bus of theirs up in Byron Bay, and we drove it down the coast to Melbourne and spent a few days with them. And their business is called Hire a Combi, and they're just a young couple
just out of
with
Melbourne,
a couple of kids, and they have a great story how they started their business and everything. But yeah, they're doing the same thing. So that was a great trip going to Australia, and that happened just between myself and Elise. We just got texting actually, and let's do this. And we did it. And then way back, we had another couple from Italy, some British expats living in a 300-year-old farmhouse in Tuscany. And they came here and they took a bus for a few weeks. And then we went over there and stayed with them. And they had a guest house there,
They didn't have a bus for us to drive, but we got to explore around Tuscany and northern Tuscany.
Yeah, Cinque Terre and Florence and all kinds of places. And then
Food alone. Oof. Yeah.
And then
everything was great. I fell in love with that part of Italy. We didn't go to Rome or Sicily or any place like that, but in Tuscany, it's just. Have you been there?
I'm not. No.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right.
So those were
we
a
just drove
couple.
around and we found these little hilltop towns that were just
Picturesque and
more than that. They were just lovely and
They
hold out of you, kind of a really appreciation of the culture and the history of the place.
yeah, it's a beautiful
Great. It was
place.
really great.
And there's another. We do have a family of French. Well, they're friends now, but way back they came here with their two daughters. And they rented one of our buses, and they came back again. And they came back a third time.
Oh, wow.
And they had 3 daughters, and then they actually stayed with us in our home another time. And when we were over in France, we got together. We didn't stay with them, but we just, met up and had an evening together. So, and we're in contact with them all the time too. So there's, we've made friends all around the world. It's really, that's the real treasure in all of this, is all these relationships.
We have more people. I think that if we were to go down the list of people that we've that have used our buses and have become friendly with, we could probably travel for a couple of years without too much trouble. And, that kind of is leading us to the point where we're starting to think about, the winding down of this business. Yeah, it's been a good run.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else would like to do it. We're open to that now.
Yeah. Possibilities.
To do some traveling ourselves, because running your own business is, as it's a 24/7, 7 days a week, kind of thing. And you never, no matter where you go, you're never not thinking about it, at least a little bit. It's hard to turn it off. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to not have that always hanging over us at some point.
Go away with this business too. You have to either have somebody running it for you, or you just shut it down. Because you don't, if you have people out on the road and they need you, you could be in a completely different time zone.
Yeah.
And not available for them. So.
Well, and you two are so hands-on.
We are. Yeah.
So to remove yourself it would be difficult unless you completely removed yourself.
Even doing the camp tours, it's kind of hard to. We did have a few different people take groups out and try that out to see how it would work out, but really people want us to be there. So
Your host. You're the host.
Exactly. Yep.
They kind of expect it. I mean, I'm sure they enjoyed this other guide or tour person, but yeah, they like
you
to see
need
the
to
face.
find people that are really kind of very personable, like river guides or something like that. People that are really people persons and servant hearts. And
Well, Happy's like that.
Yeah.
Happy's like
Yeah.
that.
And he did do a tour on his own once.
Well, the
Which
beauty.
is fine, but
Well, just you two as a team, you can pull out conversations with people and make them comfortable, and then from there they connect with the other people. So it's this little chain reaction.
Yeah,
Make them feel very comfortable and settled.
once people get started, it's hard to stop them. They're, most people, I think people are selecting that rent from us. There's a certain kind of person. In fact, I remember when we first started our business, I had a letter that I'd send everybody that contact us. Sort of, maybe it was wrong, but didn't seem to turn anybody off. But I basically just said, hey, just want to make sure that this is the right choice for you, and if you're a type A personality and, everything has to work perfectly and you can't have any interruptions and you got to be here every day, it's you got to be there on time every day. Maybe this isn't the right choice for you. I mean, I'm not going to say these cars they're old and they're going to go slower than you think. And the chances of something occurring that will either slow you down, force you to slow down, or make you want to slow down is really high with these. So, I'd try to get people sort of pre-understanding, what our vibe was. And so we just noticed that the right kind of people almost always show up.
Well, look at the woman and her son and her husband, and the husband says, I'm going to organize this. He could have easily gone, okay, let's go to the Wailea where there's lazy rivers and waterfalls.
Yeah.
And no, he chose something more mellow, and it worked.
It did work, yeah.
we've
Seen that a lot.
We've had people that are, planners. They have to be, everything's planned out ahead of time. And then other people that don't plan anything at all. And like the couple from Australia, it was the middle of the summer and they actually were able to stay in Yosemite, which blew my mind, and get a spot there. I don't know.
I can tell you, that there's, go ahead.
Staying in a parking lot in Santa Cruz and the cops come by and tell him he has to move on. And then he, talks to the cop in his Aussie accent and says, oh,
Yeah.
He didn't know, and kind of got away with another night on the beach and just totally winging it.
Ask for forgiveness later,
Right? It was like, yeah, exactly. So
I would say that
people.
every one of our foreign European travelers, I tell them, lay your accent on hard and tell them, oh, I'm not from around here. I don't know the customs. They'll usually let you go.
Slap your hand.
They're really easy to stealth camp in. I mean, you
Yeah,
just
they really
pull
are.
the curtains, keep the top down,
Yeah.
sleep in the back. But if you've got kids, it's a little hard.
Yeah.
But going back to this kind of the thought that you can't always, plan everything. Things happen in these vans. There's a story that that occurred probably within the first 10 years of our business. This young couple drove one up to San Francisco, and they were just kind of meandering around places. And one afternoon they decided to drive up to Mount Tamalpais in northern part of the San Francisco Bay, and on their way up the hill, the car broke. Turned out the clutch cable broke, so
that would scare me.
They couldn't shift, right? So they're going up this hill, and all of a sudden they're not able to shift. Yeah. So he gets out of the car and he sees there's a parking space right behind him, a driveway. He knocks on the door. He says, "Hey, my car just quit running. Can I pull over here in the driveway, get off the street?" And the guy says, "Oh yeah, fine." So he backs it in, coasts it back in. He gets talking to the guy, and he says, and he called me, and I said, "You're going to need a clutch cable. Friday afternoon, you're not going to get it, but you're going to have to wait till Monday. I'm sorry, you can get a hotel or something. We'll get you fixed up. I'll get you towed down, and we'll get you ready Monday." Yeah. So he's talking to this guy that owns this driveway, and his house is right there on the side of the mountain. Yeah. Turns out this guy is some kind of a record producer, or he's in the music industry in the Bay Area. Yeah. And he says, "Well, look, you guys just park right here and camp out right here. And by the way, we're having a party with some of our friends. So you're welcome to come to our party." So they go to this party, and it's filled with musicians and people from the Bay Area, people that you'd recognize.
Yeah. Have you
never? This thing happened to them that would have never ever in a million. If they'd have been 50 feet further up the road,
who knows what the circumstance would have been different.
So it's like, wow. Yeah. When they told me that story, I went, wow.
Yeah.
That was a lucky breakdown,
You got to be able to accept those moments.
Yeah. Not be, it'd be easy to say, "Oh,
I get all frustrated.
Stupid thing. I don't wait till Monday."
Here you are hanging out with musicians.
Yeah. With famous people, people that are really talented artists. So
yeah, be open to possibilities.
I thought, well, I didn't do that, but a little credit for that.
Yes, absolutely.
We put you out there.
Well, so people want to find you. Give us a rundown on your social medias, your website, any important information.
So, our website is VW Safari, but it's a play on that word. It's not SAR, it's SURFAR.
Safari, like the Beach Boys song.
SURFARI. And that is our handle on Facebook. And then also
VW Safari.
Yes. And then on Instagram, we're actually VW Safari Wagons.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
And that's
and we've got a pretty robust website. I don't know how robust it really is, because every day I get an email saying my website's crap. I need to hire some guy to fix it.
Oh, no.
We all get those, Bill. I'm so frustrated with those. Yeah. No, I'm just fine.
Bombarded by people that want to do your SEO.
Yeah. It's a little bit... if we were better at social media and stuff, this business is... what we do is ripe for lots of opportunities to post things that people enjoy because they enjoy the cars.
Yeah.
People like stories about the cars. They like looking at the cars and stuff like that. But we've just not ever found the extra time to do it, Yeah, really.
It really is.
So we've kind of, as the years have passed, we've grown organically, and then our business has taken on different facets. So we started doing restoration work for other people, people that have been in our buses or they've seen our buses. We've had people from other states buy buses and have them dropped off here.
Yeah.
So that we can work on the
and make them,
interiors.
get them back into shape, and sometimes do a lot of customized stuff for them.
We used, and we have done mechanical and the stuff the interior. The fun
We
stuff.
can put new cabinets, refrigerators, stoves, heaters, all basically anything you could do.
And now
in a small
we're
camper.
doing more repair work.
Yeah, we're trying to keep people's cars on the road.
There's a couple of big, not big, but one was fairly substantial. 2 VW repair shops closed in the last year and a half here in Costa Mesa. So there's a lot of people, vintage owners that are out there.
If you're an orphaned owner, come and give us a call. Which I like to help you.
Yeah. Well, you will. You guys are top notch. You know what you're doing. And that's the beauty. You're kind of, if someone wants to come and rent one of your vans just for the day, just to experience and have fun, or they have a friend in town or want something unique, you can go all the way up to wine country if you like.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's
San Francisco. But
and we also are, selling cars for people. People, because we get people all the time asking about them. Do you know anybody that's selling one? So right now we've got 4 vehicles for sale.
Got a page on our site for sales, and I have to add some more vans because we have a few more here now that we need to sell for people.
Been in the business a long time. You're really well thought of, and quality. So
we know people are. I get 3 or 4 calls a week. Hey, I want to buy one.
Yeah.
Most of the time the call is, I want to buy one. Okay, well, what do you want to buy? Well, a Volkswagen van. I go, well, there's a bunch of different, a lot of things you need to know about them before you just go and buy one. So,
that's part of the package. You offer that information. That's invaluable.
And we'll do a pre-purchase inspection, so if people need to know if the van they're buying is worth the money, we can do that and help them with that. I just like help. I like helping people. We like to help people.
You built a brand around it. That's what I love about our conversation. You have heart and soul and passion. That's what we're all about here at Gracious Spaces. So
we're perfect.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
what we like about you too. And the years that we've been associated with you and the events that you do, and it's all it is. It's
We got to stick together.
Yeah.
I'm going home and telling Lewis we're going to wine country. I'm planning the trip. So thank you for your time. I know you're busy people, and what a unique opportunity you've given me and those to listen, to see, and hear. So thank you.
Thanks for coming by. And
thank you. It's our pleasure. Really, it is. Yeah.
Our pleasure, for sure.
It's always good to see you, Jack.
We'll do it again. Take care, folks.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.